He has mentioned your views on virtues of Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr. Now, Laylatul Qadr, you see, what does Laylatul Qadr mean? Does it mean it's a specific night in the sense that the way people understand it, inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr wa ma adrak, that this, you see, this whole Suratul Qadr speaking of that we reveal this verse on a night of immense power, or it could be argued on the night of the decree. Do you understand? So there's two ways to look at this. One is the general not folkloric, but the general narrative. I suppose it is folkloric as well, but the general narrative that Muslims, that is widespread, and that is that Laylatul Qadr is a recurring night that happens every year, annually. Then the scholars massively disagree amongst themselves. When is Laylatul Qadr? Many said it's in Ramadan, some said it was out of Ramadan, some said it may have been the night of Hajj, some said it may have been 10th of Dhul Hijjah, some may have said it was a different night, some said it moves around every year, it's an non-determined night. Some people said it was in many of them, I think that's a better word, many said it was within Ramadan. Then they disagreed when in Ramadan. Some said it was in the first Ashara, some said it was in the last Ashara, some said it's on the odd nights, it's on the 21st, on the 23rd, on the 25th, 27th. Many people took the 27th, and this became kind of almost somewhat iconic of Laylatul Qadr. People say Imam Abu Hanifa said it, other people said it. Other ulama held the view that it kind of rotates between the last nights, or the odd nights of Ramadan, the last 10, 21st all the way to 29. Some ulama felt that there is no such thing really as Laylatul Qadr in that sense. Depends what we mean by Laylatul Qadr, of course. What the general people understand by it is it's a night of immense virtue. And some people say that it is like, if you worship on this night, it is as though ka'alfi shahr, it is like 1,000 months of worship that you have done. I mean, I would say fine. I would probably go with, if you want to understand it as a night of virtue, then there are certain hadith saying that seek it out in the last odd nights of Ramadan. Personally, I feel on my personal kind of basis, my personal understanding, that this hadith that seek it out, iltamisuha, in the odd nights, in the last odd nights of Ramadan, was more a kind of encouragement to make people really optimize their Ramadan. That's what I would probably feel, and I wouldn't, in my personal understanding, I don't feel that Laylatul Qadr in the Quran is necessarily the Laylatul Qadr that people have understood today, Laylatul Qadr, to mean one of the nights of, this night that we're meant to worship in and do things. And I don't think it necessarily was that, because Laylatul Qadr was a Makki surah. There was no, Ramadan existed, but there was no fasting or worshipping on Laylatul Qadr that was ever documented or ever transmitted. The Prophet never taught people, oh, by the way, it's Laylatul Qadr, we should be doing this. Later on in Medina, this talk kind of manifests. So that's, but I feel fine. It's a good thing. It keeps people engaged. It keeps people, seeking out. They try hard. You see, another interesting thing is nothing is told on what to do, because nothing is set for this Laylatul Qadr. In fact, the simple the ahadith, the simple teachings found in the ahadith are just to make dua. And that is of the simplest of ibadat. But if it helps people, if it's something very that makes their Ramadan much more meaningful, then fine. There are many. Look, what we have to understand is that there are many things today which are part and parcel of the established narrative of Islam, which have been in that exact way in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just to understand that. So a good example is like i'tikaf is another good example. Imam Malik, when asked about it, was like, he said that the Salaf here never ever really did that. he was like, nobody seemed to have practiced it in Medina. But you see, but it works for people. So sometimes there's a difference between, what is necessarily accurate and what works for people. These are not always, they don't always go hand. I mean, I suppose they go hand in hand, but they're not identical, or they don't mirror each other always. Okay. So I hope that helps.